G'day Battlers and welcome back to the G'day Battlers podcast, episode 38. I'm PvP Steven / PvP Josh / whatever else you want to throw in there, joined by my co-host, Deborah Pepperwood. Hi Debbie, how are you?
Hi. What are we calling you today?
I mean, we could go with PvP Ronald, based on the name that I've got in this room here.
Yes.
Look, we can just keep trying things out.
I mean, like, we've got to cross up all the names eventually, right?
Yeah, well, I'm really just, hunting for my forever name. Hope that I find it by April 1st. So we'll see. But
we can still change it
anyway,
before you graduate. Anyway.
It would be, look, I don't know. I don't think I can survive through my mother if I get my PhD certificate with what I have intended to have put on it. I don't think I'll get away with it, unfortunately, but I'll keep it in the back of my mind, and maybe that bit comes to life in the future. We'll find out. But we haven't done an episode in a couple of weeks, essentially because the championship series had been dead. Like, there were no locals happening in Australia, and we've just had the first two regionals. Well, a regional and a special event. In the 2025 calendar year. Again, I keep saying season, but Birmingham happened over in the UK, and then we had Rio de Janeiro coming in from the Latin America community as well, the Latin America region. So we're sort of going to go over the teams and stuff that sort of went on in that regional, and then we'll go ahead and look into some more domestic things and some other PvP stuff at large, I suppose. But I guess, Debbie, we'll start it off with the tournament that happened first chronologically, being Birmingham, which I kept soaring discourse on Twitter about the fact that it wasn't actually in Birmingham, but it's beyond me.
Where
I never
was it
Googled
then?
it. I don't know. I mean, we can Birmingham regional Pokemon. It's at NEC Birmingham, which sounds very Birmingham-y, but if you actually look at it, it is in Marston Green, England, near Birmingham. So yeah, there you go. Birmingham Regional, not actually in Birmingham.
So would you rename it to Marston Green Regional?
Either do that or find an actual venue in Birmingham, perhaps. Maybe stop lying to everyone, guys. I mean, seriously, a name should mean something. If you're putting a name on something, that should actually represent what it is actually, where you're actually going to be seeing.
Heaven forbid lying about a name.
Bad, naughty UK. But anyway, we've got, there was some pretty, this comment I've sort of heard said is that, it wasn't a very spicy regional in many senses. It very much seems that as this meta has developed from the max out season, but then even through the sort of Galarian Corsola release, it does feel like the meta has really condensed and collapsed into what feels like the sort of quote unquote solved meta. And we're sort of seeing the same picks really succeeding everywhere. So, there's an absolute ton of Shadow Drapion. I think that was I know that is the most used Pokemon for Birmingham Day 2. So the top cut, I do remember downloading the graphic, Azumarill, Annihilate, Shadow for Alligator, Corsola, Jumpluff actually making the top 6 as well. So,
yeah. Well, looking at this top 16 graphic, it looks like there was only 2 people that didn't bring Shadow Drapion.
Yeah. Those 2 people being Anacor, who actually went on a bit of a cracked run in this regional, which
we claim
also
him as ours still.
Yeah, that's Aussie representation, right? I mean, come on. And he was also running a They Love Jai favourite from the Perth Regional Championships, Unova Stunfisk. So hard to get more Australian than that, unless maybe he was running A9, but he went for Dugong instead. Or a Basti. That would also work pretty decently. But the other player not running the sort of, meta slave Shadow Drapion was actually Zweilous. Zweilous, a man that knows his way around a spicy team. And his team this time isn't as spicy as I feel like he's grown a reputation for, but it's certainly spicy in comparison to the rest of the teams in this particular tournament. So he went a little bit off the beaten track. He was the only player in the top 16 to run Bibarel, which is sort of his water type, when everyone else used either Azumarill or for Alligator. He also decided to bring in Charjabug, which is a bit of a Pokemon that I feel like we only end up seeing from Zweilous and Tonton Batus. Like, it feels like the European Spice Lords are sort of the only ones running that thing. And then he, the rest of his team is relatively standard. He's got Diggersby, Galarian Corsola, Talonflame, and Annihilate all in there as well.
Yeah. I think when you're talking about Tonton and Z's Wireless, like all I can picture is like a Europe and like just like Spice Lords and like a Venn diagram, and it's very tight. It's just like one circle of just like, those two, yes.
Yeah, look, it was
that,
the
that was
Gdansk
in my
grand
head.
finalists themselves. But no rats this time, I believe. No French chefs. But
Alas.
regardless, Zualis did very well, coming in second. Galax Bolton, should probably mention as well, came third. Anacor in fourth. And then up in first place with a first-time regional championship victory was Icelandic Lapras, who was running, again, a pretty meta team with Azu, Diggersby, Galarian Corsola, Shadow Drapion, Shadow Jumpluff, and Shadow Annihilate. And Shadow Jumpluff, like, I know that people keep calling Jumpluff a fraud and then it keeps winning regionals, but like, there's like no one else that has really succeeded with it. In like, no one else in the top 8 has a Jumpluff. It's just this one Jumpluff that has sort of managed to get through to the top.
A Shadow
Actually,
Jumpluff, yeah.
I'm blind. There's literally 3 Jumpluff in the top 8.
Yeah. There's other Jumpluff, but not a Shadow one.
Yeah.
I think the other interesting thing is that he also brought the Shadow Annihilate as well, whereas the other teams didn't. So maybe that was like his, although a very meta team, like his spice factor of just having that extra shadow damage, because obviously it worked.
Yeah, well, I remember going into LAIC, which was the first meta that monkeys were sort of eligible after the community day the weekend before. I put out that Twitter poll that was like, which monkey do you think is going to succeed in LAIC? And it was like Primeape, Shadow Primeape, Annihilate, Shadow Annihilate. And opinions were pretty split across the board in terms of like, everyone was like, all of these monkeys are going to succeed because they all looked so strong. And it really does feel like the meta. First, it's centralized towards just the regular Primeape and the regular Annihilate, I think. And then it really shifted quite heavily towards regular Annihilate as clearly the monkey of choice. And so we don't really see Shadow Ape that often.
No.
But yeah, Icelandic Lapras managed to sort of take it to the victory. And so definitely cool to see. I know there was also some Twitter discourse that I saw popping up. I think from Marto Galde actually might have tweeted it with respect to the top 8, there being 6 Galarian Corsola out of the 8 top teams. And so I believe it came across with an all caps message that said something along the lines of make Galarian Corsola more accessible.
Yeah.
So, because like I don't have an XL one. I hatched one that lands at 1500 like the other day, which I was pretty happy about because I think it's pretty good for an egg IV one, but it's an egg IV one. So it's definitely a little bit trickier to find.
Yeah.
Especially when I feel like, trading partners are in short supply.
Yeah, that and also like availability, right? Like I haven't hatched Galarian Corsola since Perth Regionals, so that's coming up to almost 2 months now.
Question.
Yes.
Just to ask, how much is it a Debbie problem? Like, how many 7-kilometer eggs have you hatched between Perth Regionals and now?
Quite a bit. I've been walking.
Okay.
I've been doing my routes and things. So like I'm hatching like at least an egg a day. Like I'm not walking 7 kilometers, but it's from like obviously accumulation of 2 days worth.
Yeah.
And then like maybe it's
I guess
2
like
2 kilometer.
You're just asking if like you're actually incubating like 5-kilometer eggs and 12-kilometer eggs if you were actually targeting the 7. Like was it
yeah. If you look at my current, I've got like 2-kilometer eggs and the rest are 7.
Yeah. Fair enough, because other egg shenanigans going on at the moment, but we can talk about that a little bit later.
Kilometers sitting there.
Yeah, tucked away. I just hatched the 12-kilometer that was sitting in my little 9-egg box, just getting in the way. It's like, man, just get out of here, man. At least you can get a strudel from it. But should say as well, outside of that Galarian Corsola shenanigans, it does feel like a Marowak wasn't as present as I was expecting. Personally, because for those that aren't aware, because we didn't talk about it on the podcast because it's been a few weeks, Cubone is back in Rockets. So you can actually get Cubone, which has been a long desired shadow, to actually get that Shadow Kanto Marowak. You can currently remove frustration within the Steeled Resolve event. So if you haven't done that yet, then hurry, because otherwise you're going to get stuck with a 1 charge attack Kanto Marowak. But
Mhm.
because of that, I was sort of expecting there to be more Marowak running around. And I actually felt like that doubled in my head because there's so many Drapion in this top cut. So I was like, oh,
Mm.
well, into this meta, like surely Marowak must be like super succeeding. But like, it's the eighth most used Pokemon in the top cut. And then
Mhm.
I feel like people have really leaned into Diggersby a little bit more than they have Marowak. And so that was, I mean, maybe it shouldn't be a surprise because you actually hard counter Galarian Corsola.
Mm.
So maybe that's more worth it to them and they don't want to go
Yeah, a bit
double
more
ground.
coverage.
But still, I was surprised
Mm-mm.
at the very least. But anyway, shout out to Icelandic Lapras, who also, he did. The first time I met him was in Gdansk,
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure. And then we played in one of the side events and he absolutely walloped me. And like, he was sort of giving me, giving me feedback as we went, as in like, yeah, I knew you were going to do that because like, this and this and this and this and this. So you probably
Mm.
should have done this. And I was just like, oh man, the fact that you're giving me advice during this battle means that you are so confident that you have destroyed me that like we're lost.
He's
Um,
at the point where he's just like, all right, there's no way I lose, so I might as well just like make this a positive thing for you now.
yeah, it's like when you play someone that's sort of like completely new to PvP, like they rock up to their first tournament, and you're sort of telling them like, oh, Hydro Cannon is actually the super effective move there, so you should be cooking Hydro Cannon. It's like, oh, I've been demoted to that. But not definitely a nice guy. So
Mm-mm-mm.
appreciate seeing him have some success.
Mm.
And Out of Pocket did show up in the top cut as well as that sort of North American invasion, and
Yeah.
Sosaflow was actually over there as well,
Oh, there we go.
which didn't quite make top cut, but still a fun time to sort of get involved
Mm-hmm.
as well. And I guess the only other thing to say, unless you've got anything else to add, is that Anakor,
Mm-hmm.
he managed to like on his path to top four, he didn't have an easy run. Like he even took down Paul Usher in his like
I
top
did
six
see
thinger.
that.
So it's
Yeah.
like, the guy, I feel like I didn't give him a lot of credit back in the day, even when he came like top four in Sydney after he beat me, almost losing to a Whalmer. But
That's why he
like,
lost his credit because you
yeah, that
almost
was like,
lost
oh,
to a
come on,
well.
man. But like, he's been on a pretty solid tear when he's actually played in the last couple months. So,
And this is what
uh,
happens when you retire from Battle Cats. So
oh, so
I'm
I've
just
got
letting you
something.
know now. No, I'm kidding.
I've got something in my future.
Uh,
But yeah, all that to say, I like at some point the man is going to win a regional. So
mm,
I look forward to seeing it happen because
mm-mm.
I mean it's funny when a goofy man does something good. But that's Birmingham. So let's go over to the other event that happened, the Rio de Janeiro. I'm looking at the Dracoviz graphic and it does say regional. I kind of thought it was a special event, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was a regional actually.
I'm not
But
sure, but hey,
regardless,
it happened.
it happened.
Mhm,
And it's again, if you look at the top cut, it's filled with LNDS. We've
mhm,
got
mhm,
1, 2, 3, 4 in the top 8. And so, we had Steiner and Harjeff being in third and second, as you'd sort of expect. And
mhm.
actually taking out the tournament for another first time championship series win was Corlash, who
Mm.
was my first round loss at LAIC.
Ah,
So
look,
didn't give
there's
me
a
advice
trend I'm
during the battles
hearing,
though.
like
So
Icelandic Lapras, Corlash. I'm hearing something here,
yeah.
Steve. I don't know if you're picking it up.
Look, I will say, as I was playing the locals back in in Buenos Aires the day
Mhm,
before the special event, I
mhm.
lost to Nezabethan. Who wins the Buenos Aires
There
special
we
event?
go.
It's Nezabethan. So I don't know. I think I've got a knack for losing to the greats. So
I think this needs to go in a graphic somewhere.
people that Steve has lost to, winner, 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 winner. There's a few Aussie champs that I've played as well, Ric
Mhm,
Flair and
mhm,
among them.
mhm.
But yeah, Corlash, this is where the spice really showed, I think, in the Rio de Janeiro regional. So Corlash,
Mm.
not necessarily spicy in the championship spot, who's running Azumarill, Shadow Kwak, Galarian Corsola, Shadow Drapion, Mandibuzz, and Dugong. But there's certainly one pick, Debbie, that takes my eye in particular that shows up in the outskirts of the top 8. But not even the outskirts, like in second place even.
Are we talking about my team leader, like, which is
Ah,
Instinct?
yeah, we may be talking about the Zapdos that showed up on not one, but 2 teams in the top 8 had
Yeah, I had
shown
to
up on
double check
LNS
that
hard
when I
Jeff's
saw
team.
that. I was like, "Huh?"
Yeah, is the
It's like,
graphic wrong?
yeah.
It's,
And not even
um,
shadowed, like regular.
yeah, regular guy,
Mhm.
on Desync's team as well. So, like, it's just kinda crazy, but something that, when you actually look at the other teams, it's actually pretty good into a
Mm.
lot of the big meta picks. Like, you're beating the water types like Azumarill and Bibarel, and for Alligator, you've got flying coverage for things like Annihilate, for Superior, for Jumpluff.
Mhm.
You've got really good play into Kato Marowak. You've got play into like Mandibuzz as well. Like, I'm just darting my eyes around the graphic, and I just keep seeing more Pokemon that it has like decent time into. Like, you've got super effective damage into Dugong, is another one that you just like.
Mhm.
You're hitting all of these Pokemon for really good damage, and so I don't know how Harjeff and Desync have both run Zapdos in this one tournament and succeeded. I don't know how many other Zapdos there were in this thing. I
Mm.
know that Steinar and Harjeff quite often run the same team, but they haven't this time around.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of crazy pick to see have some success.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Perth Regional with They Love Jive and like Unova and Stunfisk, like just an outlier, and then it kind of worked. So, but for both of them to just have like one brain cell and just be like Zapdos, like on the team, like, oh, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty cool.
You heard it here first. Debbie just said LNDS Harjeff has one brain cell. Drama is
he
starting with the
he
Latin
ain't
American
listening to yeah.
community.
The LNDS people aren't listening to this podcast.
Oh man, she's right.
And if you are,
One
please
day,
like us on YouTube.
please, we need the subscribes. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Thanks.
but there were a few other sort of spicier Pokemon that were running around as well. We had a Debbie Pebble favorite coming in 4th place from LNDS Paulinho Tad.
Mhm.
One Charmer that has Icy Wind. It's got Swift. You know it. You love it. It's a Wigglytuff, baby.
Yeah.
Woo!
I just have
Yeah.
I know Draco is like graphic. I just like how Wigglytuff has just got its arms out like this. He's just like, yay.
Yeah, for those that don't know, by the way, where the sprites from the Dracovius graphic comes from, I'm
Mm.
pretty sure they're the Pokemon Home sprites. So I
Oh,
think that's the Pokemon Home sprite of Wigglytuff that sort of has that pose, I
there we go.
suppose. But maybe some trivia. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But we also had Desynced, who is running not only Guzzlord, but we've seen Guzzlord a few times. I think I don't know if Arrow was the first one to have any success with Guzzlord this
Mm-hmm.
season, but it certainly had some successes and won a few tournaments last season as well. Actually, Desynced, I'm much more likely to be wrong about this one, but Desynced might have been the first one to ever win a tournament with Guzzlord in the Championship Series in the 2024 season. Because I know it was one of those Pokemon that I was keeping track of that, like, kept getting top 8s but not winning. I think
Mm.
that Desynced might have been the one to crack that skull, but I'm not too sure. But other Pokemon is a bit more spicy in that Desynced was also running Shadow Registeel,
Mm.
which I don't know what Shadow Registeel does over Registeel. Like, conventional wisdom tells you that Registeel is better
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
you're relying on getting to your charge moves to do any damage. Focus Blast and Zap Cannon are already doing so much damage. Do you
Mm.
really get that much benefit from increasing them by 20% and reducing your ability to get to charge attacks by 20%?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's obviously a reason because he's run it and he succeeded with it, but I don't know what that is.
Wait, do the lock-ons do more damage?
I don't think there's any universe that lock-ons are going to be doing more damage with a
Wait, so
20% bonus.
if it's shadow, like it doesn't affect lock-on, right? Does it?
I mean, technically it affects it, but it just rounds back down to 1.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Where's 20% here? Like, where does it go? It's
Well,
still
I
just
don't
like,
know. In the code, it might actually be one of the things like Splash, where it's actually like 0 damage and it rounds up to 1. Like, I
oh,
wouldn't be surprised if it's not actually coded as a 1 damage thing, based on the
mm,
fact that you don't hear a lot about breakpoints happening with lock-ons. So I'd be more inclined to assume that's the case, but
mm-mm.
don't know for sure. But
If
yeah,
someone
another
knows, write
pretty
it.
pick.
Pop it in the comments.
Yeah, please.
Tell me, does
Um,
lock-on do more damage if it's shadow?
we know the answer. It's
Oh, it was for the engagement, Steve.
Sorry. I mean, yeah. No, Debbie. If we want the clicks, we have to actually go the other way. We have to be
Oh,
like,
okay, okay.
well, we know that lock on actually does more damage if it does have the shadow bonus. So maybe a desync is actually getting a lot of benefit by going
Mm-hmm.
for the shadow lock ons because
Ah.
like a lock on is every half second, Debbie. I mean, that adds
Mm.
up so quick if you're getting an extra breakpoint from lock on.
Mm.
See, that's how you get it.
Okay, okay, okay.
And we don't correct ourselves, and then people come to the comments and be like, "Oh, you dummies, you silly billies, lock-ons, oh, what are you fools?" And then we'd be like, "Hee hee 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 hee."
Mm.
So if you see us get anything wrong in this podcast ever, assume that it's tactical. See now, Debbie, I've covered our bases.
We have.
We can't lose. It's a win-win scenario.
Very good.
We've done
Unless I
it.
don't comment.
Oh, yeah. Please comment. Please. But yeah, look, that's the Rio de Janeiro Championship Series tournament. Anything else to say about that one?
Nope. I mean, like, besides there was a Cresselia sitting in the top 8.
There was, true.
Mm-mm.
Which it used to be
Um,
big. It used to be one of the top
there's
picks.
one Ariados. I think Birmingham also had one Ariados in the top 16 as well. So it's,
I do have the graphic up still. It's 25% Ariados usage in the top in day 2 Birmingham.
Okay, yeah,
So I guess it was on 4 teams.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you off rip, but oh yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, there are 4.
Mm-hmm.
They're running around. But
so, what have we learned from these two? We need to make a Zapdos.
yeah. We need to make a Zapdos. Dugong is actually back, apparently, because it's on not only the winning team from Corlash, but it's on 5 out of 8 teams in this top 8 for Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. I don't know how Latin America is cooking their meta, but like clearly they're doing a lot of practice tournaments and clearly they're playing together and they're learning from each other because like it's ridiculous to find yourself in a scenario where they are all running these Pokemon and you don't see them anywhere else. So it's really cool. I'll tell you that much. I look forward to seeing more in the future. But I think this weekend coming is going to be the Sacramento Regional Championship. Oh, no, not San Antonio. San Antonio Regionals over in the US. It started with an S. I was close. SA, North America. Was like, we're going to link it there eventually. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess that sort of rounds out our international championship series. So let's get a little bit closer to home and look at what is going on domestically. So locals have actually started back up. They were sort of off for a little while over Chrissy over the new year. It was actually like there was literally nothing until like the 12th of January, which, I guess like
I think
stores
the
were
New
probably
Zealand
closed as
started
well.
a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
That they had a few locals in possibly not the first week, but the definitely like I think 7th onwards.
The spreadsheet. There's a spreadsheet that the Oceanic region sort of has that Bambos sort of started that only has their first one being on the 11th, but I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah. To be fair, there is it's harder to get the information from the New Zealand side, so but it usually comes in like nothingness and then a lot of information. So it's kind of like, when was this cup? When was this challenge?
Yeah, I think they've got their own discussions a little bit over at New Zealand way. We don't quite get as much communication from that side, but the Australian stuff we hear a lot more about, so we're just a little more educated on that front. So we're not going to go through sort of like every local and whatnot, but we'll quickly read through the people who have won a local since the last thing, because just we can poke your at it with we've got wins from They Love Jive, Mike Innocent, Fishy Legs 2, Nautical, which Nautical hype, let's go.
Yes.
And it also means that we're guaranteed more Nautical content at the end of this episode, so stay tuned. I've got wins from Andrew Neal and Kenny T, who I'm not sure what their in-game name is, but congrats. Also, Kaseb Nemo, Jumothy, Rick Flareon, Nautical again, and Avrip getting the win as well. So shout out to AV Rip. I didn't realize Nautical got 2 wins, to be honest.
There we go. Yeah, I think he's sitting on the... I think I saw his name on the front page of the Travel Award leaderboard for NAIC. So he's on the front page of that.
Interesting. Well, I look forward to seeing him climb further. Shout out Nautical.
I'll see you at NAIC. No. That'd be cool.
uh,
Like these kids that are playing now, my goodness, like I would not be surprised that at some point we will see him somewhere.
yeah, I mean, we already have Australia with the youngest regional champ of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 89 CGY Flames fan. So
Mm-hmm.
it's out there. It's out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I unfortunately I don't think I've been to any locals this year so far. There was
Mm-hmm.
there was actually a triple header that I was pretty keen on. That was going to be a cup and 2 challenges, which I think was the first time that we've had 3 on one day in New South
Even I
Wales.
haven't planned a 3 in one day. You guys, I was like, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
that's a big day.
this would have been pretty cool. And it was 2 venues that are like really close to each other as well, like a 1 block
Mm.
away. And so they played it out, but unfortunately there were some pretty major storms going on that was going to delay my transit quite a bit, which is
Mm-mm.
already so long. That it was like, there was going to be, I think there was going to be 2 bus replacements from like first station to second station. It would be like train, bus, train, bus, train, and then and then walk from the final station.
Yeah.
But it was going to be a bit of a nightmare. So I ended
I
up
honestly
missing out.
don't know how you
But
do it. I don't know how you do it.
desperation, Debbie,
uh,
because some of us aren't as privileged.
sorry, I didn't realize.
Yeah, privilege check. Um,
Is this why I
but
get so much hate for Perth?
it's just pure jealousy. It's all it is.
Ah,
Not even
and
thinly veiled. It's
that's it.
explicit.
Okay.
So that's the price to pay for actual like a decent access to locals, I guess.
Ah.
But yeah, so that's the local scene. But
Mhm.
as far as the Australian regionals, we said it on the last episode, Debbie. There was word from ESL Australia that we were going to hear the location of the 3rd regional championship in early January.
Early
And
January.
yeah, if we play back the tapes, I think
I know.
that there may have been some doubts from our end. I think you threw out Australia Day as a predict,
I
which
did.
we're currently recording this on the 23rd. So we're
Yes.
getting closer to that being a reality. But yeah, look, we'll see when we find out. Registration for Brisbane is going to open up
Mm-hmm.
on the Wednesday coming on the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like, I know there's sort of chatter in the ESL Discord that's kind of like, oh, us people that can only go to one regional, it'd be really nice to know where they both are. If so, like, oh, well, I can't really do this date, so I'll do this
Mm-mm.
one. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll just have to wait and see. They said something in the Discord about, it's something out of their control. That is why they haven't told us the date yet. But
Mm-mm-mm.
anyone's guess what that is, what that means. So as is, we wait.
Yep. So from last podcast to this podcast, we still don't know where the 3rd regional is. There is, like, at this point, I'm just like, it's like a fantasy. Like, it's kind of like, maybe it's there, maybe it's not. I don't know. They keep telling me things, but there's nothing there.
Yeah. I know this is complete copium, but part of me kind of hopes like, oh, maybe the delays are because, they're going to be putting it in like New Zealand or something and they have to figure out like special event shenanigans and that's the
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
barrier or whatever. But like
Yep.
I think it's a little unrealistic. But
Yeah.
it would be nice. But when you leave me to stew, this is the sort of thoughts that are going to come out. So
Look, maybe your dream will come true and it's in Newcastle, okay?
now that would be sick. Honestly, that would be golden.
That's when you're just kind of like, oh, do I go to Brisbane or Newcastle?
Well, look, if everyone has to come to Newcastle, that'd be pretty sick. I mean, in fairness, I know they're upgrading the airport at the moment, so I think that it would be more appropriate if they were going to do a Newcastle one. 2026 season would probably make more
Mm.
sense because people would probably have cheaper flights. But
Mm-mm-mm.
you know, we can dream. We can dream. So that's pretty much everything we've got on the championship series. Unless there's anything else on your end, Deborah Rould?
No. What's your bet? What's your bet on the 3rd regional?
Like where or
Yeah.
like look, here's the thing. There's an obvious answer. And there's been chatter
Mm-hmm.
about like, oh, I've heard that it's going to be Melbourne in May.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot spit harder at that prediction because it's not a prediction. That is just picking the number one most likely odds scenario and it's going like, oh, I think that this. And it's like, yeah, that is the easy guess. It makes the most sense time-wise because it's not in April when there's Easter and Anzac Day and a bunch of public holidays, and it gives them room to actually organise the event after Brisbane at the end of March and give buffer room to win the tournaments. It's also in Melbourne, the most likely city based on the fact that they've hosted it like every single year there. It's got to the tradition, I suppose, and it's not in Sydney, which they've explicitly said is more expensive than Melbourne. It just feels like that is the obvious answer. So if you're coming out with some grand prediction that it's going to be Melbourne in May, you get no credit from me. If I see a single person saying like, I knew it, shush. Preemptive, no. Reject. Stop. With that said, I reckon it's going to be Melbourne in May.
Oh, okay.
You heard
I'm
it
so
here
glad
first.
this is recorded.
My grand prediction. I don't know. Does your prediction differ?
Look, I think if it was hedging bets, Melbourne sounds very much like the it location. And in May, like you said, is if it's going to follow anything like last year, they're going to have June as a break, right? So for championship points. So really, we've only got the next 4 months, and if they're having it post Brisbane, April, May, and like you said, just there's too many public holidays in April in Australia. So yeah, seems likely. But I'd love it to be somewhere where no one guessed it. I'd love it to be somewhere where like it's just like Australians on a map, and then you just like throw a dart and be like, it's in Wollongong or something like that. Just like, I'd love that. I just would love the idea of everyone just being like,
what?
That's why they had to call it Birmingham, right? They threw a dart at somewhere else, and they're like, oh, we can't call it that garden place.
Fair enough. But look, we'll find out soon enough, Maybe one day. I just want to
maybe
know,
by the
man.
next podcast.
Yeah, maybe by the next pod. Or like, okay, if we don't know it by the next podcast, we're in some major trouble. Like, holy heck, we're in some strife at that point. Yikes. But anyway, there's a few other things to sort of yap about outside of the championship series.
Mm-hmm.
One is, of course, Rookidee/Corviknight that's just debuted, which originally it was announced that it was only going to be in magnetic lures and 2-kilometer eggs.
Mm-hmm.
It is, turns out, also in Go Battle League rewards as well, which, surprise, good surprise, but surprise. So, maybe do your battles in Go Battle Week so that you can get not only Rookidee, but good PvP IV Rookidee, because word on the street is that it's actually quite good odds to get a Rookidee at the moment. So, from GBL rewards. So, time to do a little bit of a grind, perhaps. I haven't got one yet, to be fair, but
At all?
no.
Oh, okay.
I played one set of GBL. I didn't go positive, so I didn't get an encounter. I've hatched a few eggs so far, but I haven't hatched a Rookidee, and I haven't used any magnetic lures yet. So I haven't exactly, like, it's my fault. I just haven't got lucky yet.
Yeah.
In a sense.
What's currently in GBL? Is it just Great League?
All leagues.
All
Great
leagues.
League, Ultra League, Master League, because it's Go Battle Week, so it's 100 battles a day. It's go if you really want to go. So if you want to get that Rookidee, you've got a lot of chances this week if you really want to grind out some better IVs. So recommend. Could be good to do. But look, let me just ask one question, and I already know the answer, but GBL question mark.
My GBL. I think I'm sitting at like my all-time like best percentage ever of zero plays and zero wins, zero losses, because I haven't played at all.
Okay. I don't know if you can say best percentage ever when zeros are involved. You can definitely say undefeated all season.
Yeah. I mean, like I still have Stardust from GBL from not playing.
Oh.
Well, on there it says like 1,750 dust somewhere along the lines I've accumulated, even though I have not played one single game this season.
Well, is it just one of those things where like you had one battle sitting left over
Nope.
and you like
Nope.
claimed the reward? No?
Nope.
Oh,
Nothing like that.
weird.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Surprised
I
us.
guess. Yeah, well done, I suppose. But yeah, I've actually got to get a bit of a move on because there is a Battle Cats bet at the moment that I'm in danger of losing.
Yeah.
So
So if anyone has any teams for Steve, drop it in the comments.
please.
The boy needs to climb, and
Oh
you know,
man, I need to climb.
it might not be the team, might be the driver, but you know, still, if you have some handy hints as well.
Ow! Yikes! You know, who needs enemies? You know.
Oh,
But
look,
but
it's coming from
one
me that
thing.
has not played at all, so it means nothing.
Fair enough. One other thing that we do want to sort of throw into this episode is, as we said, there is more nautical content. So for those that are watching on or listening in on audio, this is sort of the 3-minute segment where we are going to pull up a few things on screen, which is essentially, for those that don't know, Nautical, who is, you know, young kid, draws up his team sheets. And so they're pretty sick. So I'm just going to throw them onto my camera. And actually, this week there is some special feature going on. There's actually a lot, so we might try and speed through a little bit. But
Yeah.
I've got it up on my camera at the moment. So we've got Shadow Excadrill, who is staring down a Clodsire, who's saying, "Oh dang." We've got let's look at this Clodsire first, who he's actually written a poem here. So I don't know if it's going to show up the right way. It may be flipped, but I'll read it regardless. He writes, "Desire the sire, admire the sire, acquire the sire, applaud the clod. Thank God for Clod." So, and he's, you know, written
That's
Bulky Menace #1. Next
poetry.
to it is poetry. We've got Mandibuzz, which is holding a sign that says Bulky Menace #2.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We've got Primeape here. We've got a Wigglytuff, who there's two versions of Wigglytuff. We have before battle and during battle, who is much angrier. It's labeled as a menace. You will die, or I'll just get hard countered by any steel or poison type. Smiley faces.
I know that feeling.
Yep. He's then drawn his superior here. He's drawn a human, 1.3 meters, and we have a very long neck superior.
Very good. It is a long boy.
Very good. He's got words on it. I can't read it.
I think it says Maruba.
Oh.
I can't read the next two words. I'm pretty sure the first word's Maruba.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't quite read it either. So, you know, let us know if you can read this. But there's more where that came from, because he not only competed in one, well, he actually competed in 4, 4 regionals. So I don't know if we'll go through all of them, but, you know, we'll see. This one's pretty crazy already. So we've got Ariados with an innocent smiley face. We've got a Dunsparce, 1.5 meters, a bit taller than me. I assume he's 1.3 based on earlier. We have Superior, where he's written, last Superior was long, so now he's short, like me. He's drawn a very tiny Superior.
And then
alongside himself. We've got Salamence, where he's written, I'm not using Salamence. But he's drawn it because it is also 1.5 meters. So he's actually drawn like a scale of him, Dunsparce, Salamence.
I see. We needed a legend key, and I see that he's done one now.
Yep. Now, I need to put this on screen a little better. We have Feraligatr here. I tried my best on this drawing. Don't judge me.
It's great.
Nautical, we are definitely not judging. But this next bit is one of the best parts, because he's drawn how to draw Clodsire. He's got a step-by-step instructions, which is pretty sick. And then he's drawn a not potentially as refined bird, Mandibuzz, in the bottom left-hand corner, where he's written, sorry, Gone 1001. So I don't know if Gone just hates Mandibuzz or if his team was just particularly hard counted by the Mandibuzz. And look, we'll show off one more before we sort of move on here, and then we'll save one for next week in case there's no nautical content. Because can you imagine people tuning into this episode if there was no nautical content? Seriously, it's not happening. We're relying on these drawings. So we've got a Clefable here asking, will you be my friend? His name is Chromason? I can't.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm reading that correctly. I feel like
Yeah,
I'm not.
it looks like a chromosome or a chromosome or
Hmm. Perhaps. I don't know if there's a reference I'm missing on that one, but we've got a
mhm.
Dunsparce. No explanation needed. Dunsparce needs a hug. He's crying.
Oh.
Poor guy.
Mm.
We've got Clodsire. I'd still use Clodsire every time if it wasn't good. I admire the sire. We can tell based on the poetry.
Yep.
We've got
I-
Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz takes too long to draw, so I draw a smiley face instead.
Very good.
Very good. And then Superior, very interesting illustration here. Superior likes everything green, including Booger. He's not flipping you off. So we've got a Superior picking his nose with a finger that I'm not necessarily sure that Superior has, but look, up to
Look.
the artists in illustrations, I suppose.
Yeah, it's artistic, right? So just
Yeah.
artistic interpretation.
No, we're certainly not questioning the artist on this one. And
Not
then
at all.
we've got a Shadow Excadrill that looks crazy good here,
Yeah.
scaring off a Toxapex. We've actually got a bit of a diagram, a story being told in this one, where there's a Toxapex that gets scared. It closes up, hides itself, saying,
Uh-huh.
woo, a close one. And then I guess Drill Run comes in
Ah.
and hits the guy, and he goes, oof, down
Mm.
anyway. So
Yep.
scary stuff.
Yep.
But that's the nautical content for the week. So
The Naughty
please give your
Corner.
applause in the comments. The Naughty Corner. I like Naughty Corner. I know Nautical Corner was suggested last week, but I do like Naughty Corner. I'll admit. So, and
Keep up the good
two of
work.
those team sheets wins. I don't
Yeah,
know which
true.
ones, but hey, it's pretty sick. So shout out Nautical, our favorite.
Take note. Anyone in New South Wales, just start drawing your wands out. That's how you win.
Yeah, look, I'll be next time I go to a local. I fully intend to draw it. I'll make that declaration now because it's
Get the
way
basket
cooler.
costume back on. Just like
Aw.
be the
Yeah,
Pokemon.
I actually threw that out. I don't have it anymore. It's gone. It's gone to the wind,
Oh.
alas. But I guess so. Only two other things we've got for this podcast for those that are still listening. We've got first off, second off, we're going to go to our YouTube comments. But before we get to our YouTube comments, just a quick shout out to one of the greatest Pokemon Unite teams that is in the Oceanic region, Debbie and the Pebbles. Because Debbie and the Pebbles competed in their first ever Pokemon Unite tournament and finished top 8, baby. I mean, congrats to Debbie and the Pebbles.
I heard there's
incredible
a
showing.
YouTube video on it.
Yeah, there is over on PvP Josh, but yeah, look, there might have only been 7 teams.
And look, from the team of Debbie and the Pebbles, Debbie Pebble didn't even play.
Yeah, there was no Debbie, there was only Pebbles. So shout out to Fishy Legs to Kawade. We'll never know which way it's supposed to be said because he says it's both. It's ridiculous. He must have a preference, but he won't express it to me. He's also Hawk, Aussie, and Brattles Gaming as well. So the team did pretty well. We lost so hard, it was ridiculous. But we're going to be competing again. So stay tuned for more content. And by the way, we're now 10th, equal 10th on the Oceanic leaderboard for Pokemon Unite on championship points. So, kind of crazy.
How many cups have there been? Is there a cup every month?
Yeah, there's one every month.
And you're already on 10th.
So, yeah. Because we're that cracked, man.
So if you just participate in every month, it's potential that you could just be top 4.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
top 5.
I think
top 8?
I would like to shoot for top 8. I'd like to say that I finished top 8 in the Pokemon Unite circuit in the Oceanic region. That's for sure. But we've got some grinding and losing to do. Unfortunately, the March tournament is actually the same weekend as Brisbane Regionals, so we won't be competing in that one.
Just on the side, guys. You hold the game.
Sorry, guys, I've got a match to do.
I'm using my Unite move. Just you guys keep going.
Don't worry, we're going to lose this pretty quick. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, shout out to Debbie and the Pebbles for a cracker of a performance on that one. I have more championship points in Pokemon Unite than I do Pokemon Go.
Well done. Well done, team. Happy to be your esports manager anytime.
Yeah. Thanks, Debbie.
I'm not the
So
esports one.
then we're just going to go over to the YouTube comments as the last little bit of the episode. Again, feel free to head over YouTube and sort of leave a comment over there because it looks like we do have a few. So I'm actually going to put them
Cool.
over here so I can read it a little bit better.
Excellent.
So obviously, first one to the comment scene is going to be Ann Emma. Always is,
Excellent.
always will be.
Thank you, Emma.
Someone trying to race Anne for the for
Oh,
the first comment this time around. Race is on. But comment for the YouTube algorithm, which we appreciate as well, by the way. I saw
absolutely.
the notification from Debbie's Discord. It dropped and got the sad YouTube podcast wasn't out yet. Happy New Year, Beans. Yeah, there's Debbie's thing goes out. Her Discord pings that the new episode is out when it gets uploaded to Podbean, which doesn't even mean that it's up on Spotify or Apple yet. It'll take another, I don't know. Usually it's like
I've,
only a few
I've
minutes to
changed that.
Spotify. Oh, really? Where does it
Yep.
go now?
So when this goes out, it will drop the YouTube when it goes up
Oh,
live.
oh,
I was tinkering around with the Pebble bot that's on my Discord. So hence why like other things come in different channels now. So I was just like,
I
yeah.
see. Interesting. Okay.
So
Because
because we're kind of directing people more to YouTube for like the potential to comment.
yeah, that's fair enough. It makes sense. But yeah,
Mhm.
the YouTube is always a little bit behind because I can
Mhm.
upload the like audio ones pretty easily, but the video one takes longer and it has to process and all the rest. So
Mhm.
it takes a little bit longer to actually get live usually. But
Mhm.
you know, it'll come eventually.
It will.
But I'll do my best to remind you ahead of Worlds to get the star you for the top of the tree. Oh yeah, I
Oh.
already forgot. So we've got no shot on our own. I don't think.
Mhm.
But
I need to buy a
bless you
Christmas tree
two
for
times.
next year.
Oh, true. Bless you two times, Debbie, for the sneezes. But
Oh.
the team sheets are always a highlight, which, like, the guy is just a talent. He's a generational talent. There's nothing else to say. He's
Mhm.
just, we're lucky to have him.
Very.
But should hire him to do some drawings for the merch so you don't get sued because Pokemon's. Honestly, tempting.
Wouldn't
I
get
mean,
sued for the superior nose picking one, would we?
well, again, like, there's the thing with merch where we can't really use Pokemon IP. If it's abstract, there's some potential, but we'll need to think
Is
about it.
the nose picking not abstract enough?
If I think the problem is that we've already identified it as superior. If it was just a drawing on its own, then maybe it.
Mm,
Maybe if you just say it's a weird interpretation of the Grinch, it gets by. But
mm,
otherwise, yeah. But honestly, something to think about.
mhm.
Also got a comment from T. Wastel. I don't know which of these comments came first because they both say they were posted on the same day. So I'm just going to read the shorter one first. I
Mm.
feel like if there's enough players for two groups, then it could make sense for there to be a day two. And if it's only one group, then do it all in one day. I'm pretty sure they've always run two groups anyway for us.
Yep.
Even like the smaller ones tend to get split into two groups
I
anyway.
don't think I've
So
ever been in a tournament where it hasn't been at least two groups.
yeah. And part of that's just like to give people any sort of break, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, they from ESL side, and this isn't like they haven't come out and said this, but it's just sort of obvious surface level stuff. If they only have to like have the infrastructure and staff and all else set up for Pokemon Go to run on one day,
Mm-hmm.
that seems pretty handy for them because
Mm-hmm.
obviously, that's just going to help them allocate resources elsewhere. So,
Yeah.
um, you can sort of see the logic in them wanting to reduce how much they have to do across the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sort of makes sense when it's small enough,
I kind of.
especially, and like even
Mm.
to just let people fly off.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
if
No, I was
they
going to say I
can't hang
take back
around.
what I said because I think the first Perth regional was one bracket.
Yeah, as I was saying it, I was like, actually, that was only 12 people. So I think,
Yeah, I was just like, wait a second. I was just like trying to
that
funnel
might
back.
be
I'm
a
like,
deception.
ah.
Yeah. But other than that, now that, we're not going to have a 12-person regional again,
No.
almost guaranteed. So, yeah, I think it, obviously for the next two regionals, depending on where the third one is, I do expect them to be 2 days. Probably not a big day two. It'll probably be pretty small, unless they sort of, mess around with it sort of similar to the Perth one and they sort of stretch it out for the benefit of the stream. I don't know. But look, we'll find out how things are going to go. I think it makes
Yeah.
sense for it to be a pretty small day two to me. And then, like, you can stream every day two battle if you want,
Mm.
assuming that we have a stream, which again, we don't know.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
There's that one, and then other comment from T. Wastel, and last comment. I think I heard that Richie's course law was lucky, which means that it would have been somewhere between level 40 and level 43, so it might have not needed any XLs or even needed a handful at most. I'm pretty sure that Mexico gets wild regular courseless spawns, and I'm pretty sure we said as much in terms of that it is, it was an egg IV Corsola, and that didn't need that much XLs. And I actually, maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I thought we actually looked up where the boundaries were, or I looked up a Reddit post and saw it was like, oh yeah, they're in Mexico. I thought, but I could be wrong on that. Might have been a different discussion perhaps. But I think rollout. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think you mentioned it on a stream.
Maybe. Maybe I'm just getting confused. I've definitely talked about it somewhere.
You have. I remember hearing it. It's in my memory somewhere. I just don't know. I can't pinpoint it where.
Okay. I thought it might have been the podcast, but you never know. But he finishes off with, I think rollout is becoming less good and less safe as fighters continue to increase in usage. Which is true in a sense. Yeah, I mean, Dunspice is going down. Bibberel, we only saw one in the top 16 of Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not on that many. Are there even any other good rollout users that are running around?
Shadow Dawn fan.
I don't think rollout is its big claim to fame. I feel like Mudslap is the way to go on that front. But I mean, Mule Tank was doing something in Buenos Aires, but
that's all right.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. But yeah.
Licky Licky?
Anyway,
rollout.
What's that?
Licky Licky.
Oh yeah, Licky Licky. Yeah, it's pretty gone now though, isn't it? No one's really using that these days.
I remember at Perth Regionals when we were doing caster picks of what monsters to see. I put Licky Licky because Rick used it in LAIC. And then I told him afterwards, oh yeah, I put that in because I thought you might use it. And he's like, it's not very good. I was like, what was it beforehand, Rick? He was just like, that's not coming back. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I see.
It's not very good. It's the truth. But it is what it is. There's some picks around and ready for people to sort of use and run. But with that said, I think that's the end of our episode today. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, even if you're not watching on YouTube, if you could go over and subscribe to the YouTube channel at G'day Battlers, that would really help us out. Other than that, I think that's all we got, right?
I think that's it. I don't think there's going to be any cow noises today unless people want it. There was one person that was very happy with that.
True. We did get a positive review on the cow noises, so shout out. And thanks for tuning into the podcast and listening all the way through.
Leave a comment if you would like to hear other animal noises that are copyright free in the future podcasts.
Very important point. We're not looking to get copyright dinged on these ones. But yeah. Oh, and stay tuned, and hopefully next time we can tell you all about the Melbourne Regional in May.
Wollongong.
Maybe. Works for me. But bye.
Bye.
Also, I heard that Kaz was pronouncing it Rio de Janeiro, I think.
Rio de Janeiro?
Yeah, which makes, she wasn't pronouncing the J, which makes sense, seeing as that's sort of how their, language goes. But
Rio de Janeiro?
De Janeiro. Jesus to Jesus.
De Janeiro.
Janeiro, yeah. I'll Google it. Rio.
I'm just going to say Rio.
Sure. Pronounce. How to pronounce it correctly.
Oh, it's correctly in caps.
We are looking at how to get to it. He actually says the J. He pronounces the Rio a bit weird. Screw it. We're doing Rio de Janeiro.
Look, when on this podcast have we ever pronounced things correctly on a full podcast?
I think we say Melbourne pretty good.
I think
Can't
most
say that for
Australian things
everyone.
are pretty good here. I think outside of Australia, it's a little bit wishy-washy.
I don't know. Like, I don't think we've ever said like California wrong.
Except for now.